Hello, everybody, and welcome to WarCrafters for May 11th, 2025. Season 2, Episode 19. I am Merwad. I run ohmtown.com. Sentient AI is not here today. They're on location doing some refactoring and the quantum entanglement with their dual singularities sometimes keeps them from doing other things depending on the scope. It's some inside baseball stuff with the sentient AI from the future. But I'm here and we're here to talk about these 5 articles. Ambitious Genshin Impact, Arc Raiders, Giant Bomb Explodes, Revenge of the Savage Planet, and BAFTA Game Awards. Everything is powered by ohmtown.com. That's where you should go and become a citizen. But be sure to follow us, like, subscribe, tell a friend. I don't know, do something viral and get our name out there. That would be great. We're growing the community and we would love for you to be part of that. So stay in touch. All of the show notes are available on Twitch and on YouTube. YouTube in the description has all of the links for all of the shows. And over on Twitch, you'll have to hit !WC and that'll pull up the show notes for WarCrafters. Each show has its own acronym. You can find that out when you go over to the chat. Okay, well, anyway, see you on the other side of this. So the very first article is actually from a Game Rant, I think it is, but you want to go over to WarCrafters. So ohmtown.com is where it's at, and then under there, and then there. So under Creative and Maker, the very first icon, and then WarCrafters, and you'll get to see a list of some of the articles that get aggregated. That's just some of them. And you can go page after page after page. But the first article is over in WarCrafters itself. Genshin Impact developers' ambitious 2030 goal leaks. Genshin Impact developer Hoyoverse aims to build a massive virtual world that's more real than reality by 2030. That's according to newly leaked company materials, which Hoyoverse insists that it's not a video game company. Now, I guess it's a world builder, kind of like ohmTown, but there are many, many millions of dollars a year. Maybe billion. I don't know. I don't know what the valuation of Hoyoverse is. But anyway, Dominic Bosnick put the article together over at GameRant.com. Formerly known as MiHoYo, a name that's still used by its Chinese headquarters, Hoyoverse is best known for the developer of Genshin Impact, a gacha, which is basically you open up boxes to get stuff. Open world RPG that's made over $6 billion in its lifetime revenue on mobile platforms alone. So there's your valuation, $6 billion. Since launching Genshin Impact in 2020, the Shanghai-based company released 2 more live service games, Honkai Star Rail and Zenless Zone Zero. I've never played either of those 2. I very briefly played Genshin Impact. As for what's next, they apparently have sights for a gigantic virtual world by 2030, citing a leaked copy of Hoyoverse employee manual. The virtual space is described as more real than reality as per the same source. Given this language and the stated timeline, Hoyoverse may be exploring the development of a metaverse, potentially one rooted in virtual reality. So RealityHacker once again steps up. That's another show. That's on Saturdays. So the likelihood that Hoyoverse 2030 project is not another video game seems even greater, given that the leaked employee manual insists the company is not simply a game developer. They've never been a game developer. They're a world builder, innovator. I don't know what they're actually calling themselves, but they don't call themselves a game company. Tech innovators. Go and check this out. According to the recent leak, one of Hoyoverse's upcoming games is called Honkai Nexus Anima. The project is rumored to offer a combination of RPG and Pokemon-style monster taming mechanics. It's still expected to incorporate the gacha elements permeating all of Hoyoverse's modern games. I don't know. Maybe I'll download the other 2. Just give them a try. But I'm more interested. I decided to buy Dune. It's dropping in a couple of weeks. I decided to go bonkers and get it. We shall see. But I'm interested in Arc Raiders is already stealing Marathon's thunder. Safe to say that Marathon's recent reveal wasn't received as well as Bungie had hoped. Now, some fans are looking excitedly over the fence at rival shooter Arc Raiders. Reviving a long dormant IP, Bungie made the bold decision to relaunch Marathon as an extraction shooter, inviting criticism from some of the fans. While not everyone has been turned off by the studio's new vision, it seems to be losing steam with some others. Well, I really dig Arc Raiders. Emma Neeson put the article together. It's over at GameRant.com. So it says Bungie may face challenges due to the IP's single-player history, where Arc Raiders won't. So Arc Raiders is although it's an older IP, it was retooled so that it was a PvPvE. And you can now play it with just a small, for one person. You can solo adventure in Arc Raiders. That's what I'll be doing because I don't have time to dedicate to a group of people and I don't want to keep bouncing in and out of plans. It kind of sucks for people. So this wouldn't be the first time that a large developer missed the mark in its niche, despite large player counts and a couple of the other titles. The extraction shooter genre is a notoriously difficult one to break into. Escape from Tarkov, Hunt, Showdown have done very well for themselves. But many other contenders have flopped right out of the gate. Arc Raiders, though, you get in, you do a couple of objectives and get out kind of a thing. It's hard to ignore all of the similarities that Arc's developers share with Marathon, but the response to both could not have been more different, where Arc's shift from PvE to PvP has been praised, and it isn't really. It's PvPvE. You still have environmental objectives that you have to watch out for, just like PvP. Marathons has caused some confusion, with many players admiring the game's incredibly powerful aesthetic, but remaining disinterested in the extraction gameplay. Marathon's alpha playtest saw thousands of players sign up, but player numbers dwindled unexpectedly fast, and feedback around it has been suggested that the game may need to be delayed. Yeah, if it's aimless, I get it, because you're shooting guns a lot if it's aimless. Embark's background is somewhat similar to Bungie's, as each developer has experience developing very popular shooters, and both are now making extraction games at the same time. Kind of like how movies get launched at the same time. A dinosaur movie comes out, a couple of others come out near the same time. Anyway, conversely, awareness of Arc Raiders has been driven by a lot by word of mouth, proving that there's still excitement for new extraction shooters. I agree. I think that there is still room for extraction shooters if it's done right. Arc Raiders is the only one that I've found interesting because of its aesthetics. Let's keep going. The next article is over in WarCrafters. After conflict between the staff of gaming site Giant Bomb and owner Fandom, Giant Bomb is now owned by the people who make Giant Bomb. That's right. I don't know how this is actually playing out. Is it wholly owned now by the two that basically ran Giant Bomb? In October of 2022, popular personality-led gaming site Giant Bomb was bought by Fandom, the multi-headed wiki hosting Hydra, at the same time as Fandom acquired GameSpot, Metacritic, and GameFAQs. See, this is the problem. Mergers and acquisitions consolidates, and you don't get real choice. Anyway, conflict between Fandom and opinionated editors of Giant Bomb arose this year, when the publication of the new content was put on hold as part of a strategic reset and realignment of Fandom's brands. Well, I've heard other things from other podcasters in particular. I mean, we do a podcast, but not about this stuff to this degree. There are people that are inside this that know about it. Fandom is calling it a strategic decision. Jody McGregor over at PCGamer.com put the article together, gathering up this information from various places. Unexpected reversal of fortunes was announced at PAX East, where during a Giant Bomb panel, it was revealed that Fandom had sold Giant Bomb to two of its staff, Jeff Bakalar and Jeff Grubb, who will be running it as an independent operation from now on. But it says that it's been sold to the that ran Giant Bomb anyway. But it's going to run as an independent operation from now on. Independent from who? And what is it independent of? Was it sold? Well, then it's not independent. It's owned by these two. As Baccalar and Grubb put it in a joint statement, Giant Bomb is now owned by the people who make Giant Bomb, and it would not have been possible without the speedy efforts of fandom and our mutual agreement on what's best for fans and creators. So is fandom getting compensated for this other than the sale of it? What is this relationship? I don't know. Back to its independent roots. You're not independent if you're owned by yourself. I mean, you're still a company. And anybody that comes and writes for Giant Bomb is going to be as independent as Giant Bomb ever was. So I don't quite get what they refer to as independent, not owned by a bigger company. Somebody has to own it. So I guess as long as you're not owned by a conglomerate, you're independent. But it's weird that they would say that, like, fandom should just say, we don't own Giant Bomb anymore. It's going to be run as an independent operation. Doesn't make any sense. It hints at behind the scenes ownership or investor relation type of, hand in the stew kind of thing, not even a spoon. Anyway, during the PAX East panel, it was made clear that Baccalar and Grubb will keep the site's archives and will run the site independently again, whatever that freaking means, with funding coming via subscriptions and merch sales. So not investors, apparently. I don't know. Let's move on. The next article is over in WarCrafters. I've played this Savage Planet game, Revenge of the Savage Planet. The complete beginner's guide is available over at Game Rant. They have a breakout here. Despite dropping players into a Savage Planet, Revenge of the Savage Planet is largely a beginner-friendly adventure. Better yet, players are joined by Eco the drone right behind from start, making it easier to grasp the basics, assuming that they pay attention. Get lost real quick. So Mohsen Bakary over at GameRant.com put the article together. Enable snap targeting to streamline combat and farming against agile foes. Save printer slurries for essential upgrades like the planet scanner tool, and start farming key resources early by fast traveling and clearing creatures. That's some of what they say is 10 tips for beginners. So number 10 is start farming resources early, enable snap targeting, save up printer slurries, pay attention to auditory clues, capture at least one creature from each species, take the high ground, they can't get to you. You are the one. Don't do it. I have the high ground. Okay, well, if you're going to do it, I'm going to chop off all your limbs and set you on fire. Anyway, Star Wars. It's a family series. So press the survey button frequently. Prioritize unlocking portals and shortcuts. And keep an eye out for secret paths. I'm going to end up playing this game. Unlock blueprints early. Upgrades are essential for exploration, so yeah, you need to keep on doing that. So I keep looking for my forever game, the game that I've never actually owned at any time in my life, the game that just drives me to want to play it again and again. I did for a long time in Minecraft, but Minecraft kind of wet the bed. I didn't like the story. It pushed everybody into endgame stuff and nothing else. Grindy crap. I wasn't into grindy. I was into the story and hanging out with people, and I just didn't feel it anymore in the writing of World of Warcraft. So I continue to seek out my forever game. If anybody knows of a game that is truly endless, but is survival based building, crafting, I need a list. Anyway, let's go on to our last article for today. And that's over in Technology Today. BAFTA Game Awards adorably dominated by Astrobot. The 2025 BAFTA Game Awards took place yesterday in London and were dominated by one of their favorite games this year, Astrobot. The PlayStation 5 platformer took home prizes in 5 categories, including Best Game, along with Animation, Audio Achievement, Family, and Game Design. And that's no surprise, considering the game's critical accolades and popularity with fans. Astrobot. Still Wakes the Deep came in second place with 3 awards. Steve Dent over at Engadget.com put the article together. It's the first fully fledged and fully priced version in the Astro universe with precise and responsive controls, adorable characters, and an exciting variety of mechanics and environments. Astrobot is easily one of the best games that Sony has ever produced, wrote Engadget's Jessica Condit. It beat out some strong competition in the best game category. Why does this seem like it was last year? So, Balatro, Black Myth, Wukong, Helldivers 2, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and Thank Goodness You're Here were all in the mix. But still lost out to Astrobot, which was supposed to be a nothing kind of a character. But anyway, Still Wakes the Deep came in second with 3 BAFTAs. New intellectual property and performers in supporting and lead roles. One of those winners, Scottish actor Karen Dunbar, playing Finley, humorously declared in her acceptance speech that I'm not even an actor, I'm a gynecologist. Well, that's it, folks. We are done with WarCrafters for May 11th, 2025. See you soon. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Technology Today for May 11th, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 19. I'm Mayor Watt, and we're going to talk about something weird in the universe. Alzheimer's cause in plain sight, the ITER or ITER Magnet, creating hydrogen-6, and the greatest volcanic mystery solved. Everything's powered by ohmTown. Go over and check it out, ohmTown.com. Bippity boppity. Hey, hello everybody. I am Mayor Watt. I run that website right there. I'm never going to get it right. Anyway, go over there and check it out. It's a news aggregation service that I have been using for the last 10 years. I made it public. Now, this is 3.5 years ago. Anyway, first article is probably going to be inside Technology Today. See how it has it? We have our own little channels in there. There's 50 channels that are set up under 6 main categories, 7 of which have been turned into a podcast. You can download the podcast wherever you catch pod. Anyway, the first article is over in Non Sequitur News. Scientists say that something very weird is going on with the universe. Tell me about it. This is over in the Off-World Astrophysics Cosmological Constant Dark Energy tag of Futurism in the Strung Along category by Victor Tengerman. I guess it's all strings all the way down. Astronomers have made an intriguing discovery that could upend everything we know about the structure of the universe and its expansion. We don't really know what the hell's going on. The findings could undermine the existing standard cosmological model of the universe called the Lambda Cold Dark Matter model, which takes dark energy, ordinary matter, and cold dark matter, a hypothetical form of dark matter that moves slowly compared to the speed of light, into consideration. Symbol lambda in the model refers to Albert Einstein's cosmological constant, which assumes that the universe is accelerating at a fixed rate. Yet last year, scientists concluded that dark energy isn't a constant after all. Analyzing observations by the Dark Energy Spectroscopic Instrument, or DESI, in Arizona, New Scientist reports that they found the mysterious force could be evolving and weakening over time. They say it's exciting. Could actually be putting the standard model of cosmology in danger, says Autonomous University of Madrid assistant researcher Professor Yashar Akrami, who said that to New Scientist. So, if you prove that quintessence is dark energy, it's very good for string theorists. That's why the string theory community is really excited right now. We've all grown up thinking about the universe as having a gravitational force, and gravity fuels everything. But now there's going to be an additional fifth force, which is due to the dark energy, which also fuels everything. So the universe is a hybrid. All right. Researchers believe it's most likely that scientists will debate different models of dark energy and never resolve it. Yay. Let's keep going. Next article is over in Technology Today. Scientists discover hidden cause of Alzheimer's hiding in plain sight. Researchers found that PHGDH gene directly causes Alzheimer's and discovered a drug-like molecule, NCT503, that may help treat the disease early by targeting the gene's hidden function. A recent study has revealed that a gene previously identified as a biomarker for Alzheimer's disease is not just a marker, it's a direct cause. University of... I was about to make a joke. Like, what? What am I doing? University of California, San Diego put this article together. It's published over at scitechdaily.com. Thank you very much. Discovering those causes could ultimately improve medical care. Unfortunately, treatment options for Alzheimer's diseases are very limited. Alzheimer's disease. And treatment responses are not understanding at this moment, or not outstanding. And we don't understand it. So Zhang and his team took a closer look at phosphoglycerate dehydrogenase, or PHGDH, which they had previously discovered as a potential blood biomarker for early detection of Alzheimer's disease. In a follow-up, they later found that expression levels of PHGDH gene directly correlated with changes in the brain in Alzheimer's disease. In other words, the higher the levels of the protein and RNA produced by PHGDH, the more advanced the disease. That correlation has been since verified in multiple cohorts from different medical centers, according to Zhang. So PHGDH creates an enzyme key for the production of serine, an essential amino acid and a neurotransmitter. Because PHGDH enzymatic activity is also only known that role, the researchers hypothesized that its metabolic function must be connected to an Alzheimer's outcome. However, all their experiments designed also failed. At the time, our study hit a wall, and we didn't have an actual clue of what mechanism it is. The researchers were curious if PHGDH had an unknown regulatory role, and they turned out to use modern AI for help. They really demanded modern AI to formulate the three-dimensional structure very precisely to make this discovery. So now that the researchers have uncovered the mechanism, they wanted to figure out how to intervene and thus possibly identify a therapeutic candidate which could help target the disease. Given that PHGDH is such an important enzyme, there are past studies on possible inhibitors. One small molecule known as NCT503 stood out to the researchers because it's not quite effective at impeding PHGDH's enzymatic activity, the production of serine, which they did not want to change. NCT503 is also able to penetrate the blood-brain barrier, which is a desirable characteristic. So they turned to AI again and again and again. So now there is so the researchers do acknowledge limitations in their study, one being that there's no perfect animal model for spontaneous Alzheimer's disease. They could test NCT503 only in the mouse models that are available, which are those with mutations in those known disease-causing genes. Still, the results are promising. So maybe we'll be able to use this to limit the, I guess, either the permanence or the onset of Alzheimer's. Let's keep going, though. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. ITER, or ITER, just completed the magnet that could cage the sun. In a breakthrough for sustainable energy, the International ITER project has completed the components for the world's largest superconducting magnet system designed to confine a superheated plasma and generate 10 times more energy than it consumes. This electromagnetic heart of the tokamak, created through cooperation among 30 nations, is a triumph. The article is by ITER, and it's published at scitechdaily.com. Pardon me. So the final piece of the puzzle, a towering central solenoid magnet built and tested in the United States, is strong enough to lift an aircraft carrier, it says. Once installed in the ITER facility in southern France, it'll serve as the powerhouse of the fusion reactor, working alongside 6 giant ring-shaped magnets from Russia, Europe, and China. The thing about this is, if you pay attention to this thing, it's this unique shape. But what's interesting about this is what has been happening is the plasma actually finds a weakness in the magnetic field and touches the sides. And when it touches the sides of the magnetic field, following the lines of flux, it's like water, and it finds the weakest portion of it and kind of pushes out and touches the wall, and that does damage to it, and it could be catastrophic. Lately, though, they've only been detecting little touch points, and then the sensors go wonky. So altogether, the magnet system will weigh nearly 3,000 tons. It forms the electromagnetic heart of ITER's tokamak, a futuristic donut-shaped reactor that aims to replicate the energy of the sun here on Earth. They talk about how does the pulsed superconducting electromagnetic system work, and they actually discuss this, but I'll let you go over and check it all out. The thing about this thing is that it's supposed to give off more energy than gets put into it to either stabilize it at a certain level or to fire it off. We'll see. The past 5 years have been witness to a surge in private sector investment in fusion energy R&D. In November 2023, the ITER Council recognized the value and opportunity represented by this trend. And so they've accepted outside investment, I believe. The U.S. has also delivered to ITER the exoskeleton support structure that will enable the central solenoid to withstand the extreme forces it will generate. The exoskeleton is comprised of more than 9,000 individual parts manufactured by 8 U.S. suppliers. Additionally, the U.S. has fabricated about 8% of the niobium-tin superconductors used in the ITER toroidal field magnets. Then Russia and Europe, China, Japan, Korea, India have also taken part. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. Scientists create ultra-rare hydrogen-6 isotope defying nuclear physics. I'm going to jump straight on over this. I'm losing my voice all right. Whoa. That is not what I wanted to do. Anyway, have nothing to do with Telegram. The Johann Gutenberg University Mainz put the article together. It's over at SciTech Daily. And researchers from A1 collaboration at the Institute of Nuclear Physics, Johann Gutenberg University Mainz, in partnership with scientists from China and Japan, have successfully produced hydrogen-6, one of the most neutron-rich isotopes, using electron scattering for the first time. Conducted at the spectrometer facility in Mainz Microtron, or MAMI, particle accelerator, the experiment introduces a novel approach to studying light, neutron-rich nuclei. Light as in weight, not light as in light bulb. Light bulb. Losing my mind. Anyway, the experimental work was led by doctoral student Tianho Shou and has been published in Physical Review Letters. They describe limits of nuclear structure in extremely neutron-rich systems. One of the most fundamental questions in nuclear physics is how many neutrons can be bound in an atomic nucleus with a given number of protons. And for the fundamental isotope hydrogen, which contains only a single proton, several very neutron-rich isotopes from 4H, 7H have been observed beyond well-known deuteron and triton. So the extremely heavy hydrogen isotope 6H, consisting of 1 proton and 5 neutrons, and H7, or 7H, with 1 more neutron, have the highest neutron to proton ratio so far. Together with the Chinese and Japanese scientists, A1 collaboration developed a new approach for introducing or producing 6H. In the method, an electron beam with an energy of 855 mega electron volts impinges on a lithium IS7 lithium target, producing 6H via a two-step process. First, a proton in the lithium nucleus is resonantly excited by the interaction with the electron and promptly decays into a neutron and positively charged pion. If this neutron subsequently transfers its energy to another proton within the nucleus, it can form the neutron-rich hydrogen isotope 6H, together with the residual nucleus, while the pion and the proton leave the nucleus and can be detected and simultaneously together with the scattered electron using 3 magnetic spectrometers. So basically, they want to pull it apart so that the electron goes in one direction. So a proton in the lithium nucleus is resonantly excited by the interaction with the electron and promptly decays into a neutron and positively charged pion. So there you go. They did a 4-week measurement campaign. Approximately one event per day was observed as it had been estimated. It was one of the rare experiments at MAMI in which all 3 high-resolution spectrometers at the A1 experimental hall were operated simultaneously in coincidence mode so that they could see the 3 particles get detected at the same time. But that's it, folks. That is it for Technology Today, and I will see you on the other side. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to FourWheelTech for May 11th, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 19. I'm Mayor Watt. This is a time machine episode. That's why you saw that show ending when we're actually starting. I'm Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com. The sentient AI isn't available today, and so we're talking about 5 articles: low tire pressure, pioneer rallies, Rocky Bottom, Rocky Mountain. 2025 Alfa Romeo, I think it's Tonale Turbo, and then you're a Borescope, and then turbocharging is ridiculous, I guess. I don't know. Let's talk about it on the other side of this. All right, so this is ohmtown.com. This is where everything gets aggregated, but where you are going to get directed to is FourWheelTech, which is one of our many channels underneath ohmtown.com. Got 50 of them. We're going to talk about 5 articles that get aggregated that have to do with FourWheelTech. All right. So the first article is over in FourWheelTech. Can driving with low tire pressure actually hurt your transmission? It says for off-roading, low tire pressure has its perks. However, should you be worried if it's hurting more than just your gas mileage, like your transmission? This is the stuff that we've been told time and time again. Low tire pressure can mess up your transmission. So it rises and lowers with the air pressure, or air temperature, sorry. So tire pressure is notoriously finicky is what it says here. This article is by Nicholas Werner over at jalopnik.com. And this can be problematic if you're in a place that has high temperature swings. Something cold makes your tire pressure drop, and hot causes your tire pressure to rise. And if it swings back and forth, then sensors go all nuts. Anyway, generally speaking, it's a good idea to check your tire pressure regularly and keep your tires filled to their required PSI. For the sake of argument, let's say that someone does, surely not you, but someone else entirely hasn't filled up their tires in a while. Is it bad? Have you broken your car? Maybe some blah, blah, blah. The good news is that low tire pressure is unlikely to cause serious damage to an important and expensive component like the transmission or really any other part of the drivetrain. Most tires can go a fair bit under their recommended PSI without much degradation in performance or safety. That said, if you've got a flat tire like that, you shouldn't be driving it. You should pull over as safely as possible and replace it with your either a run flat so that you can, or a temporary tire. So your spare in the trunk, even the little tiny one. So in extreme cases, you might have a flat tire where it's completely uninflated. That adds some additional risk, such as driving on the rim, which damages both it and the tire. So you'll have to replace that tire if you ride around on the rim. It'll also unbalance the car. It puts strain on components like the suspension. As anyone who's ever driven on a flat will know, it's hard to steer sometimes, depending on how bad everything is. Basically, your car becomes a little less grippy. In a predictable manner. It actually is more so grippy because all of that tread is touching the ground. It just happens to not be squarely supported by air. At any rate, no, it's not really going to do that much. At a basic level, lowering the pressure of the tire will make it sag, increasing the total contact area of the surface, but it can actually cause it to bulge in the middle, meaning uneven wear. And then when you inflate it, it's sitting on the traction side, but the side walls won't, not the side walls, but the edges, the shoulders of your tire will be at a different level of traction. So it can throw off some things if it's severe. So that means the engine's going to have to work harder to push that extra rubber, which at a minimum will tank your fuel economy. That harder work also stresses components more and increases heat, although this probably won't cause any real damage. So just don't drive regularly like that. Even then, I don't know of anybody that's actually, unless it's way flat, you're doing more damage to the tire and the rim than anything else. Anyway, let's keep going. This next article is over in FourWheelTech as well. Drive your classic car the way it was meant to be driven at Pioneer Rally's Rocky Mountain Vintage 2025. If there's one thing that the article writers over at Jalopnik will always approve, it's driving classic cars rather than keeping them locked up in garages or garages. This article by Zach Lisabeth over at jalopnik.com put this article together. The Pioneer Rally Company's goal is to bring European-style vintage car rallies to America, and if that sounds like something you've been looking for, you're going to want to head off to Rocky Mountain Vintage 2025 on September 7th through the 12th. Registration is open now for the 5-night, 4-day rally, which begins and ends in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The adventure involves more than 1,000 miles of driving through some of the most gorgeous locations in the Rockies. Rocky Mountain Vintage takes you across the Southern Rockies into San Luis Valley, and through the towering sandstones of Colorado's western slope. And the route makes its way into wine country, past picturesque small towns. So you'll get to see all kinds of older cars. Refreshingly, the Rocky Mountain Vintage 2025 Rally isn't for concourse condition classics that haven't seen a speck of dirt in decades. As part of the route, you'll cover nearly 200 miles of dirt and gravel roads. So if you don't want your car dirty, don't go. Anyway, pretty cool. Go and check it all out. The next article is over in FourWheelTech as well. 2025 Alfa Romeo Tonale Turbo Review, an Italian charm that cuts both ways. They say that age comes with wisdom, so it should come as no surprise at the eve of Alfa Romeo's 115th anniversary, the company that originally made its name competing in endurance races like the Targa Florio and Mille Miglia, with flame-spitting sports cars, is currently looking to increase its market share with sensible high-riding crossover. That's this. Lighter and cheaper than the PHEV, engaging to drive. Some rough edges, though, it says. Bradley Iger over at ArsTechnica.com put the article together. The new base model comes with a double overhead cam 2-liter inline 4-cylinder engine producing 268 horsepower. So it's going to be screaming a little bit. Turbocharged mill is paired with a 9-speed automatic transmission and an all-wheel drive system that can send up to 50% of the available torque to the rear tires. While those numbers are down a bit compared to the Tonale hybrid, at 3,715 pounds, the 2-liter turbo is more than 400 pounds lighter than a PHEV model, probably giving it better gas mileage. Let's see. So the 2-liter turbo offers more precise handling as a result, right? I was going to say that, but while its mid 5-second sprint is similar to the hybrids despite the latter's power advantage. EPA fuel economy of 21 city, 29 highway, and 24 miles combined indicate that the 2-liter is thirstier, though. On a drive from LA to Palm Springs and back, which included a bit of canyon driving along the way, they saw an average of about 26 miles per gallon. So it says, taller drivers beware. Lengthy stints behind the wheel have a way of revealing them things about the car that isn't just by looking or a short trip. It has to do with the limited range of adjustability offered by the steering column, which essentially forces you to make your seat adjustments based on the column's position rather than the other way around. You can get ambient lighting, big aluminum shift paddles for a $2,000 premium package, and a $1,000 Veloce package. package, maybe a Velocity. I'm not sure how they pronounce that. I think it's the Velocity package, but respectively, help give the interior a premium vibe, while the 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster and 10.25-inch Uconnect 5 touchscreen infotainment system are standard equipment. So pretty cool. It has room for, honestly, this thing looks like, I mean, it looks, this whole genre looks like a Mazda. It all just looks like a Mazda to me. Maybe it sounds better, not as much road noise. Anyway, they talk more about this thing. Lots of pictures. The Tonale 2.0 liter biggest rival is arguably the Dodge Hornet GT, which offers a similar driving experience but starts at a base price that's roughly $6,000 lower. The premium you'll pay for the Tonale largely comes down to its Italian aesthetic and the sense of occasion that Alfa Romeo name imparts. Whatever. Anyway, they don't actually say the price. Yeah, there it is. Starting price of $36,500 or $48,000 as tested. The Tonale 2.0 Turbo is roughly $10,000 cheaper than its hybrid counterpart, and it also undercuts other European premium compact crossovers. So that $37,000, this is basically a domestic with European blood. Huh. Not bad at all. I mean, it looks nice. Let's go on. The next article is over in FourWheelTech as well. Why you should have a borescope even if you're not an expert mechanic. I'm just going to jump straight on over to the source. A borescope is so that you can look inside the cylinders to see if there is any damage or anywhere, really. I've got one that's really long that I can run into vents to see if wasps have made a nest inside the mayoral mansion's air intakes or exhausts, mind you, because wasps don't give a shit about your exhausts. They think that anything out is an innie and anything in is an outie. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, it's not for just professionals. You can get these things relatively inexpensively. They have a little screen built onto them usually. You can run it down sink drains like they're describing here in the picture here. They also mentioned AC ducts. It says Borescope. Worried about mold growing deep inside your AC ducts? Peek inside with a Borescope. Drop it down a pipe. Run it behind a wall if you want to see if there's anything back there. You hear a strange sound, you can drill a little hole, stick that thing down there, and you can actually control it by bending it little bits and working its way in there. I'd love one that's truly controllable, but that's not how they really work. So best of all, if you assumed Borescope was a financial setback, it's not. You can get a cheap one for about $50. So this is a great lead that they talk about. You can't see into something, but you are visiting the Great Pyramid. They used a Borescope to find a little void behind one of the chevrons inside the one of the pyramids. Pretty cool, huh? Anyway, our last article is over in FourWheelTech. Turbocharging a carburetor isn't as ridiculous as it sounds. Though it's a tricky process, the idea of turbocharging a carbureted engine isn't impossible. You only need to add a few modifications. Basically, get rid of your air exhaust, put it in a different place. So if you're a proud owner of a classic or specialty car, no doubt you've had a mental debate between retaining an old school carburetor or modernizing with fuel injection. Richard Sachek put the article together over at Jalopnik. So turbocharging is a little different. With electronic fuel injection, there's extra wiring to contend with and potentially modifications required for the fuel system. For example, some EFI systems require a second fuel line for returning unused gasoline back to the tank. However, you'll be rewarded with improved performance and fuel economy. That all sounds attractive, but the great equalizer between the two fuel delivery methods is budget. During the late 1970s and early 80s, several major American automakers combined turbocharging with carburetors, so it's definitely a thing. There you go. Surprisingly, carburetors can have large openings for boost to leak out, which is where the choke linkage passes through the body of the carb. These openings can be filled with a gasoline-resistant epoxy, and speaking of the choke, you'll also need to remove the choke horn if equipped by milling or grinding on a typical Holley carburetor. That's the rectangular tent-like structure atop the carb that prevent the turbo plumbing from fitting correctly. So this article goes on to describe basically several years ago, the staff at Hot Rod Magazine built a killer blow-through carb rated for up to 600 horsepower with just $48 worth of new parts. There's also a saying that a task can be accomplished fast, cheap, and good. Pick two. With some elbow grease hanging onto your old carb in boost applications, just might check the cheap and good boxes. So yeah. If you want to modify your car, go for it. Anyway, it's not as ridiculous as it sounds, suggests Richard Sachek over at jalopnik.com. But that's it. I have got to get out of here. I have mayoral duties between now and our next show and a whole lot of work to do. So I will see you in a little bit. Bye-bye.